When is there a time to give up? Because there is a wildly believed, I think, social phrase, which is like quitting is for losers, right? But when I look at my own life and my own career, quitting has played quite an important role sometimes in leaving a situation that wasn't good. So when should we give up?
Well, that's called wisdom, and it comes with experience. And there's always a right. First of all, my 16-year-old nephew came to me the other day. I said, Bev, you need to knock the smoking on the head. You're smoking a lot at the moment. He went, but ever since I was a kid, you told me never give up. I said, apart from the cigarettes, there's always a time to give things up. And experience and wisdom, you just don't want to be a pig-headed, head in the dirt, just, that's not smart. That's not smart. Intuition and experience has to know when, hold on, this isn't maybe the right route. Let's just take a step back. And I think it's why so often great mountaineers are often a little bit older, because they have that patience and that judgment. And when you're young and you don't care and you kind of maybe should be listening to that intuition, and maybe the weather's changed or something's happening that's saying, hold, and you go and you die. It's why so many high altitude mountaineers' deaths is that relentless ability not to adapt or change your plan, where with age you have that ability to listen to your instinct, to the mountains, to the circumstances, and maybe adapt and maybe change. And as we know, with big mountains, they'll always be there. So I think that ability to life, to listen to that and to amend and to adapt is super important. And look at soldiering, same. It's always this thinking man soldier, was the mantra of a lot of these special forces stuff, is always being able to adapt, improvise, adapt, overcome. That's leading with this and with this. So of course there's a time for pulling back and holding. But I think generally the message, 90% of the time, most people don't get to where they're going, not because of a lack of skills or talent, it's that lack of kind of ability to keep going when it's hard. And that's why I think doing little things every day, small things that, whatever it is, that just push this muscle a bit is good. Even if it's like, I've had a thing for years and it's now super popular. Everyone's kind of, doing it, the ice bath training.
Oh, yeah.
But I've done it for years. And I love this thing of just 3 minutes a day. I'm just in that cold water, whether it's a river or in winter or a lake or, at nighttime. And, I try and find somewhere every day, just get in that cold, and it hurts, still hurts. But it's just a little something, whatever it is, that's something that's difficult to do. Because most people spend their lives avoiding the painful, the difficult, they're scared of public speaking, or they're scared of it. So they avoid the things that challenge us. But as you know, it's where growth happens, and growth isn't always fun. It's often painful, but it's like a muscle. The more you push it, the more you get used to it. There's a great thing at the Commando Training Center in Lympstone that just says comfortable with uncertainty. And it's a great thing for life, Don't get sat in that comfort zone too much. I call it a comfort pit, somewhere to get out of quickly.
I was wondering if, like training in the gym, when I do my repetitions of the weights, I then need a bigger weight to get the same gain. So do you find yourself needing like a bigger thrill or a bigger expedition or a greater challenge to get the same like feeling of fulfillment and contempt from your work these days? And where do you find that after you've climbed Everest and done all you've done?
I don't feel that, no.
You don't feel that?
I don't feel that. I think what you're saying in the question is, is that where you get your fulfillment through that thing? And the answer is no, it's not where I get fulfillment. I do these things, I try and do the difficult things just to keep that inside muscle honed a little bit. But it's not always about bigger and better and, it's, as I read the other day, half of life is getting to where you're achieving your goals, and the other half of life is being really happy to enjoy it. The second one's a harder one to do. And I think I've been super lucky to fulfill so many things. I still have many goals, many ambitions, but it's not goals and ambitions that trump the last one and ever bigger and, it's not like that. It's just really grateful and try, make sure you stay alive, make sure you're always grateful for the many good things and the luck you've had along the way. Keep that muscle inside honed, keep working, keep doing your best. But it's definitely not where I find the fulfillment. It's not like the achievement's never going to fulfill that whole.
Did you used to think it would?
Maybe a little bit. I think when I was young, I think Everest certainly for me was such a sort of symbol of like, I'm going to do this. It was at a time when only I think 20 odd Brits had ever climbed it. And it was like, I thought this is going to be epic, and then you see the realities of, we have 4 climbers lose their lives up there, and it really rattled me in many ways. And I was lucky to reach the top and got back in one piece, but it didn't answer that question of, I don't know. I don't think I'd climb it now. I'm not so out on a quest to kind of prove anything. But I think when you're young, is half of it's good to have a quest. You got to have that goal. But the other half is like, it's not the answer to life, is it? It's a, that maybe comes from elsewhere. And with time and experience, you learn the real answer to life is always rooted in, something aside, and relationships with great people. And, a lot of it, I think, comes down to love, actually, being, knowing those connections with great people, and a love of whatever. It can be a love of the outdoors, a love of what you do, But it's not found in achievement always.
Have you found where it is found? You don't seem to be so certain exactly where that feeling of fulfillment. You talked about the second half, which is like enjoying the goals. Have you figured that bit out?
I think it's a lifelong journey of figuring it out. I hope I edge closer to where it's not found, which is never found in trophies and triumphs and accolades. Those things, I see those things with clearer lenses now. I'm more proud of being married, 22 years. I got 3 great boys. The simpler things I'm more proud of. I think, where do I really find fulfillment? I think my faith is a quiet thing in that sense. Faith's always a tricky one, and hard to articulate very well, but it definitely comes from a place of like, that you're okay. You're okay. We're forgiven, we're loved, empowered, and try and live life as best you can, eyes wide open, with gratitude in your heart and a tough, resilient spirit to go for things. And I look at life in those sort of terms more and more.
I feel like in the 2022 in the UK, where I think we've grown more atheist as a society. I mean, some people say there's no such thing as an atheist, but we've grown more atheist in our viewpoints. It is harder to communicate if you do have a faith. Why did you say that it's a tricky thing?
I think it's been so tarnished. I think religion has been so tarnished, and I get that. I was always the least religious person growing up. I just thought, as a kid, I had a really natural faith. I always believed in some higher power, and that I could feel, there's something around. As a little kid, it was like, wow. And then I think I went to school, and then, you had to go to church, and they all wore white cassocks and spoke in Latin. I thought, gosh, I've really missed it. This is actually what it's about. And it's been a life journey to unwind all of that and realize actually the little me had it right. Faith is in your heart, knowing that you're not alone, and there's something bigger than us out there, and they're for us, not, that power is for us, not against us. And despite my doubts and all of those sort of things, I'm going to put my trust in that and try and, have love at the center of all we do, and live empowered and go for things and not be scared to fail and not be driven by fear and all those sort of things. And that, to me, what faith is. So it's hard to articulate, I think, because it's personal and it's intimate, and also it's, like I say, it's has just as many doubts as it does, doubt and faith, 2 sides of the same coin. I think it does feel like that for me. But through it all, I would say my Christian faith has been a real backbone and a kind of secret strength in many tricky moments. Light to a dark path, I always kind of feel it's that sort of thing. So, yeah.
I did wonder when I was reading about your faith, and I watched you pray for Obama just at the end of your time with him, because I've sat here with guests who have undergone and witnessed such horrific things in their lives, and it's shaken their faith. In fact, Eubank was one of them, that his brother suddenly died. They were both very religious, and that shook his faith. And being out in nature and being on those expeditions up Everest where 2 people fall to their death and 2, die of the cold, one might assume that those moments would shake your faith, but it sounds like it's made it stronger in a way from what you say.
Well, I think the 2 things happen often. You get shaken and strengthened. And actually my experience of people who've really been taken to the edge, that's actually where they find their faith. You know, you look at so many of the concentration camp stories and stuff, you know, it's, you know, two sides looking at it. One person said, there can be no God. I've witnessed evil personified. And I can't remember when said, I've been to the edge and I know there's no place that God isn't. You know, it's all how we look at it, how we choose to live. And I choose to try and live with, you know, faith in other people, faith in ourselves, faith in the Almighty. And that helped me.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.